I'm back!
That's right, ladies, gentlemen, and all you epic gamers, the X-Boy finally makes another return to YouTube. I really need to stop disappearing. But I'll make it up to you with this video, where we will be talking about yeah, it won't be difficult to be biased about this one. Not at all. Excuse me while I go and get ready. No, I can't show bias. If I show bias, they'll come find me and probably castrate me or something. Right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my bias out of the way, and then I'm going to try my absolute best to be fair to it, which means point out the good and the bad. Okay? I know a lot of people who can't do that, but I will be the first one to do it. So strap on your seatbelts, because we're going on a wild ride through the Phantom Pain. Yay!
Peggy 18.
Oh my god, guys, this game is spectacular. So vast and open, an amazing story and fun gameplay that sucks me in every time I open the game. And the soundtrack, excluding the pre-existing songs added to the game, is amazing, with Sins of the Father being almost as good as the theme for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I've not played MGS3. You no longer belong here! Anyway, this game is damn near my absolute favorite game outside of the Final Fantasy franchise, and today I'm going to tackle as much of the game as I can for your enjoyment. And with that, let's begin with the story of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Set after the events of Ground Zeroes with the destruction of the MSF, we find Big Boss at a hospital where he remains in a coma for 9 years. He awakens only to find the hospital ransacked with soldiers shooting to kill anything that moves. Whilst Big Boss, alongside a heavily bandaged Ishmael, exits the hospital, he is stopped by a pair of superhumans. These superhumans go by the codenames The Third Child and The Man on Fire. After losing sight of Ishmael, all hope for the wounded Big Boss seems lost when all of a sudden he is saved by fucking Revolver Ocelot. Oh, what? Revolver Ocelot, the first boss battle in Metal Gear Solid 3, the man with the greatest revolver skills in video game history?
Ocelots are proud creatures. They prefer to hunt alone. Shots.
Oh! I still don't get it. You're dead to me. After all of this, Big Boss joins the mercenary group Diamond Dogs, founded by Kazuhira Miller, and is transported to an offshore platform near Seychelles. Big Boss, now referring to himself as Venom Snake, begins a search for Cypher, where he finds himself in the crossfires of the Soviet, Afghan, and Angolan civil wars. After this, Snake recruits Dr. Huey Emmerich and Code Talker, as well as my only big problem with the game itself, Quiet. We'll get into that later! Along with these recruits, Snake captures a British boy by the name of Eli under the belief that Eli is a clone of him. After a DNA test,
I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100%
not the son of Snake. After a while, Snake discovers that Cypher's leader Major Zero was usurped and XOF, a rogue faction of Cypher, was responsible for destroying MSF and Ground Zeroes. XOF's leader Skullface considers Cypher's plan to bring the world together for peace as the same as making it culturally American, obliterating other cultures. To avoid this, he intends to release a unique parasite that kills anyone who speaks English. I'm sorry. What? How do you make a parasite like that? A parasite that can determine if you can speak the English language and then kill you. I love this game so much. But how do you do that? A modified parasite was used to give Quiet and Skullface's elite soldiers, the Skulls, their unique abilities. These soldiers have appeared in-game at various times in the game, mostly to hinder Snake's progression. After releasing the English strain parasite, Skullface plans to make nuclear weapons available to as many groups as he can, believing that nuclear deterrence will stop the weapons actually being used, attaining world peace while also protecting the integrity of each culture. However, he will secretly retain remote control of the weapons. Skullface intends to use the threat of the latest Metal Gear system, known as both the ST-84 and Sahelanthropus, to make nuclear weapons desirable again. But as he can't exactly get it to function, he is dependent on the third child's psychic ability to manipulate it. During a test, however, the third child turns against Skullface, having Sahelanthropus seriously wound him and crush the man on fire. Although Snake defeats the Metal Gear, he is only able to recover one of Skullface's 3 parasite vials. One is missing, and the other is taken by the third child and given to Eli. Skullface is left to die by Snake and Miller, but Huey puts him out of his misery. The Diamond Dogs return to their base with Sahelanthropus, only for Eli, the third child, and the child soldiers to steal Sahelanthropus, fleeing the base. It transpires that the third child was not consciously working for Skullface, but his psychic powers enthralled him to the will of the most vengeful person nearby, meaning Sahelanthropus' attack was instigated by Eli. An epidemic of parasites occurs on base, which leads to a moment in the game that actually made me cry. With the parasite infecting everyone on Mother Base, barring Big Boss and very few others, Snake hunts down and kills his fellow soldiers. To honor them, he has their cremated remains turned into diamonds to carry around into battle. Huey is accused of causing the epidemic while attempting to mutate the virus to sell as weapons, alongside suspicion of his roles in MSF's destruction and evidence that he murdered his wife Dr. Strangelove while arguing over using his son in their operations. Snake exiles him from Diamond Dogs, and following this event, Quiet disappears into Afghanistan. Code Talker reveals that Quiet was infected with the English strain parasite with the intention of joining Diamond Dogs in order to spread it, but with her allegiance shifting to Snake, she remains silent to prevent an outbreak. Huey's mutation of the parasite convinced Quiet that she could not guarantee the safety of Diamond Dogs. Snake finds her and helps her fight off the Soviet army. They defeat the wave, but as another one approaches, they are forced to hide in a sandstorm. Quiet is then forced to speak to summon help. When Snake is bitten by a venomous snake, she flees to avoid causing another epidemic. It's later revealed that Venom Snake is not actually Big Boss, but a loyal MSF medic caught in the same explosion that injured Ishmael, who was the real Big Boss. During his coma, the medic was transformed into a second Big Boss via plastic surgery and hypnotherapy to serve as a decoy for the actual Big Boss while he wages war against Cypher. Venom Snake goes on to set the events of the Outer Heaven Uprising in motion, and dies at the hands of Solid Snake. The original Big Boss resurfaces during the Zanzibar land disturbance. Miller and Ocelot discover Big Boss's plans to create Outer Heaven. While Ocelot remains supportive, Miller is disgusted at his former ally's deception, but agrees to continue assisting Venom Snake and Big Boss's son, in hopes of contributing to the real Big Boss's downfall. And that's all of the in-game plot. There could have potentially been more, but this game had a deadline, and Konami pushed the game out against Kojima's desires to implement everything he wished into the title. But that's just story, you know what's next. So let's get into gameplay. I personally like to think of the other Metal Gear titles as semi-linear, but Phantom Pain? The Phantom Pain is fully open world, allowing players to traverse the land on foot, on wheels, on horseback, or to see parts of the world from the skies in a helicopter. The CQC system from Ground Zeroes and Peace Walker returns in Phantom Pain, allowing the player to either beat an enemy to a pulp, toss them to the ground, or grab them for even more options, like interrogation, choking them into the coma, or slitting their throat. But after fighting the Sorrow in MGS3, I'll gladly go without killing them. Oh, get off my phone! The Fulton Recovery system also makes a return, allowing Boss to recruit enemy soldiers, take vehicles and animals to the Mother Base by touching them with balloons that boost them up to Mother Base. When soldiers are recruited, Big Boss can choose what field of work at Mother Base each soldier will take. This decision is made by a ranking system determining if a soldier is provisioned in either combat, research and development of equipment, base development, support, intel, or medical. Soldiers can be found in outposts, camps, prisons, or just roaming the world in vehicles. And speaking of prisons, Big Boss can receive side missions, some required to progress with the main story and some used to better Snake and or the Mother Base. One of these side mission types, and my personal favorite, is recruiting soldiers from the Soviets. These can also be prisoners, however, and you can sneak around to save the prisoners without causing combat or going guns blazing, storming prisons to rescue the prisoner and recruit them just like any enemy soldier. Now, before the verdict, it's time to cover multiplayer. As best as I can, considering it seems nobody seems to play it. Holy cow, the music in this game is great. Soothing and action-packed tracks to suit each and every scenario. Not to mention the songs that can be found on cassette tapes hidden around the world. Can include The Final Countdown by Europe and Take On Me by Aha. The music both made for the game and added to the game are all incredible, fitting the game very well in whatever scenario they're played in almost. Now, that's the main game covered. Now to talk about my thoughts about the game. It's absolutely amazing, and a game I can see myself enjoying every time I boot it up. But it isn't without its issues, mostly with a character and a company. Let's start with the character, Quiet. Now at the start of the Phantom Pain's main story, you're told to make an avatar. This avatar will become your character in Metal Gear Online, which is a separate entity with no story. It gives you a large, lobby-like open world where you can practice your skills before going into matchmaking and playing the usual first-person and third-person shooter mode types. This feature isn't particularly unique, but when you can get a game in, it's quite rewarding. Now, that's the main game covered. Now to talk about my thoughts about the game. It's absolutely amazing, and a game I can see myself enjoying every time I boot it up. But it isn't without its issues, mostly with a character and a company. Let's start with the character, Quiet. Now, Quiet in-game has her moments, but I mean, look at her. From an outsider's perspective, this is quite questionable to say the least. She also isn't written as well as she could have been, with most of her scenes looking more like we've written this character, but we've also given her a model that will pretty much wipe away all of that, and we want you to gawk and stare at it. More than a fleshed out character. Not that way, you pervs. My second issue is with the PT cancelling pachinko gambling franchise killing company that we know and love to hate, Konami. More specifically, the Konami-Kojima debacle around this time. During production of the game, Kojima had produced content that would have apparently been the size of another game. But due to Konami and their deadlines, Kojima was forced to add these contents in their development phase. No additional gameplay added, which apparently added a second fight with Sahelanthropus and Eli. Which is a bummer, but it is great to see that these contents were made available to the public in the first place, instead of just being thrown away. What isn't great is that every mention of Kojima Productions was completely removed outside of in-game, where it calls it a Hideo Kojima game. That's a bit of a problem to me. And it's not really a surprise, considering Konami is known for taking the credit of their employees' hard work. Now, onto the verdict. This game is amazing, and I was so excited to see what came out next. My hype has never died faster. Now, because of this, I'm going to cut the video short, and hopefully, next month, I will be back with you to talk about another game. Another title with a lot of hype built, and a lot less controversy around it. Devil May Cry 5. But I'm going to go wipe away my sadness that Metal Gear Survive here has given me. This is the X-Boy signing out. God, I wish I brought a drink. It would have been a lot better than this.